you bet on God? Let's find out today. Hey everyone, my name's Colin. I am the resident nerd and Bible scholar here at the Bible Uncut and Unfiltered. Today I want to introduce you to something called Pascal's Wager. Blaise Pascal was a philosopher, theologian, mathematician. He did a little bit of everything back in the 1600s. And he came up with this philosophical thought experiment that is often called Pascal's Wager. The idea is that we can't prove God exists, so everyone makes a wager on whether or not they believe God exists. And so the way that's usually simplified is your options are either believe God, in which case, if you are right, good for you. You end up in heaven, everything's great. If you're wrong, you don't really lose anything because, well, there's probably just nothing in the afterlife. Or don't believe in a God, in which case, if you're right, there is no God. Again, you don't lose anything, there's probably nothing in the afterlife. But if you're wrong, then you end up in hell, and that's a horrible way to go. So the only real option then is to believe in God, because if you're wrong there, it's not much of a loss, but if you're right, you're saved from being wrong if you believe there wasn't a God. And it's relatively simplistic logic. I heard it a lot growing up in sermons. It's a very common Christian argument to basically say, what do you have to lose believing in God? However, there's a really big problem with it, and that's that it assumes we're only talking about the Christian God, and that he is the only God that exists, and that one particular understanding of him is the correct one to take. See, this wager only works if there is only one God to choose from. However, there are multiple gods throughout history that different cultures have believed in. So if the whole idea is escape the wrath of this God by believing in him, wouldn't it actually make logical sense to then pick the worst God that we can possibly find and believe in him instead? Because then, what if that God is actually the true God and we don't want to get on his bad side? So then it would only make sense to find the most wrathful, petulant, bitter God that you possibly can find and follow them on the off chance that they might be the one true God, and that way you don't get on their bad side. See, it only works if we have one God that we are talking about, but humanity has believed in multiple gods throughout human history. So this argument falls apart because it assumes there is only one God that we're talking about, and even then, it assumes a very particular presentation of this God, where he is willing to throw people into hell if they don't follow him. And there are some Christians who don't believe that's actually the way that the Bible presents it. Now, I want to be clear here. There is nothing wrong with believing in God. And there are a ton of other philosophical and theological arguments for believing in God. However, at the end of the day, it always comes down to belief. We cannot scientifically prove or disprove the existence of any God, let alone the God of the Bible. So it always comes down to faith. And you know what? That's okay. We all choose to believe certain things. We just need to be honest with ourselves and admit that this isn't necessarily something we can prove either logically, philosophically, or theologically. We just choose to believe it, and that's okay. So if we take Pascal's wager off the table, would you bet on God? Let us know in the comments, and give us the reasons why. And let us know too if there are any other reasonings or quote-unquote proofs for God's existence that you've heard before that you'd like us to address. Love to hear from you.